Greetings. We will be starting here in just a second here, so just about one more minute and let everybody else get on. We have a good crowd here, so I'm looking forward to having you guys hear some of this great information from some of my colleagues at the foundation, as well as some of our generous donors for the School of Optometry. So, oh, and it's 1 o'clock actually, so we can start. We are recording this, so we will make sure that after we complete this webinar, we'll make sure that this is sent out to others, so you have this as a resource for later on. So, but I just want to thank everybody for being a part of this webinar today. I'm Larry Messing. I'm the Director of Development for the School of Optometry. I've been very glad to be part of the staff here for a whole year and a half, and I've really enjoyed the opportunity to meet with a lot of the alumni from the School of Optometry as well. We've gotten a lot of questions recently from people asking about different ways they can help out the School of Optometry and our students. And so we thought it'd be a good idea to put together something that could provide some great information using some of my expert colleagues over at the foundation, and also some of our alumni who've already chosen to become very generous. So we want to take about an hour or so here to provide some great information for you guys. As we go through today, you'll see at the bottom of your screen there's a section for a Q&A. So if questions pop in your head, feel free to drop them in there. We'll try to get through all the questions we possibly can. If your question isn't answered, we'll make sure there's a way for you to reach me directly, and we can address any questions you might have here. So I will kick this off by sending it over to Eileen.
Thanks, Larry. My name is Eileen Wenzel. I serve as a gift planning attorney at the IU Foundation. I have the privilege of working with Indiana University donors who are interested in leaving a legacy of support. And I also get to work with the School of Optometry and the real estate team at the foundation. In my role, I get to focus on the how. I get to work with donors who are interested in anything from a bequest to a life income gift to even an outright gift from their IRA. It's my job to make sure IU donors have the information they need to get the gift to the foundation. But first, because I am an attorney, a disclaimer: nothing in this presentation is meant as tax or legal advice. Your advisors know you and your unique situation the best, and we highly encourage that you and all donors work closely with your tax advisors and attorneys. With that out of the way, I wanted to share what I love about estate planning. Estate planning is not just about what you pass on, but to whom. Family members, friends, loved ones, and often meaningful charities. Creating a charitable legacy can be a positive and integral part of your estate planning. Leaving an estate gift to the IU Foundation is elevating IU to the status of a family member. It's a tremendous honor to IU and a reflection of your confidence in our mission. Establishing a legacy isn't about leaving something behind. It's about carrying your vision forward into the future. When you include a planned gift to IU in your will or estate, you ensure that the causes you care about most will have enduring support. A future gift in one's estate is not just a gift, it's also an investment in the School of Optometry. It's long-term support for the School of Optometry and legacy creation for you. It's a thoughtful assessment of your values and goals that results in major impact on coming generations. A future gift can support student scholarships, innovative research, and vital community outreach, often without altering your current financial situation. By making a planned gift to Indiana University, donors help shape the future, perhaps for generations to come, take advantage of financial and estate planning benefits associated with that gift, and experience the joy and satisfaction that come from giving back. And that's just a little bit about why I love estate planning. I'm going to pause right now and let Larry share a story about a key supporter of optometry and why they decided to include optometry in their estate plans.
Thanks, Eileen. Yes, I want to kind of introduce Kyle King, which I think a lot of everybody on this call knows. And Kyle's been very generous with both not only his time, but with his donations. And so I wanted Kyle to have a chance to talk about a little about why he chose to support the School of Optometry, particularly with his planned gift.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you all for joining us today. It's good to be able to share with you why decided to make a planned gift to IU School of Optometry. I think like many of us, I feel as though when my career started after graduation from optometry, my whole career, my whole trajectory has been really because of my background in optometry from IU. I feel I owe a huge debt of gratitude to the school for all the opportunities and experiences that were afforded and provided for me. And so I feel it's very important, as Lindsay said, Eileen said, excuse me, to kind of pass that forward to future generations and to be able to afford that opportunity to other students. So this is a way for me to affect the next several generations of optometrists without having to necessarily make the gift right now, but to know that those wishes will be carried out in a future timeline.
Thanks, Kyle. Like Kyle said, there are many opportunities to give. He gave through his will. There are opportunities to give that are simple and then more complex. Indiana donors establish legacy gifts through several approaches, and I'm going to talk about the most common first, and that's like what Kyle did. And that's a gift in a will or living trust. It's fairly simple. It requires no current surrendering of assets, letting you retain full use of your property during your lifetime, and is amendable, fully amendable, and even revocable during your lifetime. So if your circumstances change, you can also change this gift. In essence, you have complete control. Since a gift in your will can take many forms, you also have considerable flexibility. You can leave a specific asset, a specific sum of money, a percentage of your estate, or what remains of your estate after you've provided for other beneficiaries. You can designate exactly how you want your gift to be used. Maybe that's to honor a beloved relative, a cherished friend, or maybe an important professor. Or you can leave the gift unrestricted so that the School of Optometry can meet its changing needs. If you choose to include a bequest to IU, we would be happy to share our recommended bequest language and our federal employer identification number. Another quite popular gift vehicle is the beneficiary designation. By naming the IU Foundation as a beneficiary of a retirement plan, which again is amendable and revocable during one's lifetime, you can avoid income taxes that otherwise would be payable if those retirement assets were directed to a non-spouse or non-charitable beneficiary, such as a child, a niece, or nephew. Tax-savvy donors will often leave gifts to their family in their will and then designate a charity as a beneficiary of their retirement plan. That's because if assets from their IRA had gone to someone other than a spouse or a charity, that recipient would be taxed on that gift. However, when those tax-deferred assets come to the charity gets the full amount, no taxes due. Besides the retirement plan, Indiana University donors can name the IU Foundation as beneficiary of a commercial annuity, a bank account, a brokerage or investment account, or a donor-advised fund. Again, we can provide a recommended beneficiary designation language to you and your attorney. But often the most challenging part of updating the beneficiary, if you're like me, is simply remembering your password to your online account. And then lastly, the donors, many donors hold life insurance policies that are no longer needed for family security or liquidity purposes. And the IU Foundation can also be named as a beneficiary of any type of life insurance policy. So I just covered our most common revocable gifts. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of our irrevocable gifts that are eligible for a charitable income tax deduction. In other words, these are gift vehicles that pay income. So you can make a gift that will pay you lifetime income. You might never have heard of this before, and I hadn't until I started working at the foundation. But depending on your charitable and financial goals, these types of gift vehicles might be the right fit. That's because they reduce taxes, increase spendable income, and at the same time earmark the remainder as a gift to IU. That will have a substantial impact on IU's future. The charitable gift annuity is the most popular life income gift at the IU Foundation. And maybe that's because it's easier to understand and implement while also providing the donor with a number of benefits. A charitable gift annuity, or I might revert into my acronym, which is a CGA, is an agreement between you and us. It's an agreement in which a donor makes a gift, usually a gift of cash or securities, or sometimes, and Ellen will talk about this a little bit later, real estate. And in return, the annuitant, often the donor or the donor and their spouse, receive a fixed income stream for life. Simply put, you transfer assets as a gift to us, and we promise to pay a fixed amount to one or two annuitants for life. Then whatever remains at the end benefits the School of Optometry. There are many reasons why gift annuities are exceedingly popular. You can establish this with a modest contribution. Our minimum is $10,000. A CGA also generates a substantial charitable income tax deduction and offers the potential to avoid current capital gains taxes when it's funded with a long-term appreciated asset such as stock or real estate. And you may be able to spread out the remaining capital gains tax liability over time. What's more, part of each annuity payment may come to you income tax-free. We are always happy to provide interested donors with illustrations that show what the charitable deduction is and how those annuity payments would be taxed. So please just let us know if you're interested in that. And because the annuity's payout rate is based on the age of the annuitants at the time of the gift, the older you are, the higher the rate. If you decide to defer receiving those annuity payments for at least a year, you make the gift, you want to wait, say you're still working, you don't need the income now, but you do want that charitable deduction now, and then you want to diversify your retirement income later, you can establish a deferred charitable gift annuity. Again, the older you are when those payments begin, the higher the payout rate you receive. And that's a payment you'll receive until the end of your life, and it's guaranteed by the foundation. And again, this lets you enjoy that tax deduction now and begin an income stream later when you need it, and it can help offset or supplement retirement savings. The charitable remainder unit trust is another great gift. It provides income for life, just like a CGA, but in this case, the payments are variable. They're based on market performance. It generates a substantial income tax deduction, and it has the potential to avoid current capital gains taxes when, again, it's funded with a long-term appreciated asset such as stock or real estate. The minimum to establish a charitable remainder unit trust at the IU Foundation is $50,000. And like with the charitable gift annuity, the remainder benefits the School of Optometry. And last, but certainly not least by any means, is the qualified charitable distribution. A qualified charitable distribution from an individual retirement account or an IRA is a well-established and popular way to give. It's simple, it's straightforward, and it's a gift that's made directly to IU. If you're 70 and a half or older, this option allows you to make a charitable gift and potentially satisfy your annual required minimum distribution, your RMD. And that RMD begins at age 73. To make this type of gift, you would contact the custodian of your IRA and request that the distribution be sent directly to the IU Foundation. While your gift will not qualify for a charitable income tax deduction, the distribution from your IRA will not increase your taxable income for the year. So no taxes due on that distribution, and you made a wonderful charitable gift. The annual aggregate limit for 2025, and this will go up each year as it has in the past, is $108,000. So you can give up to $108,000 in 2025. Now, many of you know the Logans, but what you might not know is that they've made many of the gifts that I've talked about today. The Logans give annually through their qualified charitable distribution. They have also established a life income gift through a deferred charitable gift annuity, and they have named the IU Foundation as a beneficiary in their estate plans. Their philanthropy has endowed scholarships at the School of Optometry, IU East, and the Eskenazi School of Art, Architecture, and Design. Most recently, they established endowed funds at Optometry and IU East to support the most pressing needs of the school and campus. Whenever we meet with the Logans to discuss their philanthropy, they always ask us, what does the school or campus want? What is most important to the school or campus? And what do the students need? The Logan's gifts are already making a difference now at IU Bloomington and IU East through their their qualified charitable distribution. And because of their thoughtful planning, their impact will continue in perpetuity. And then the last thing I wanted to share was a gift vehicle that combines two of the gifts we've already discussed. And that's the QCD, or the Qualified Charitable Distribution Funded Life Income Gift. Because of the Consolidated Appropriations Acts of 2023, you can use a QCD, a Qualified Charitable Distribution, to create a life income stream for yourself and or your spouse. Again, donors who are 70 and a half or older can make a Qualified Charitable Distribution gift to fund either a charitable gift annuity, a charitable remainder unit trust, or a charitable remainder annuity trust, subject to certain restrictions. The election is available in only one tax year in one person's life and is limited for 2025 to $54,000. This amount counts towards the annual qualified charitable distribution limit, which I discussed earlier for 2025, which is $108,000. Donors who fund this type of gift with less than $54,000 in one tax year may not use any amount left over to fund another life income gift in a subsequent year. It's only that year. And payments are not assignable, even to the foundation. The donors are locked into receiving those payments for the rest of their lives and cannot forego the income. Additionally, sometimes with charitable remainder unit trust, you can set it for a term of years. For this type of funded charitable remainder trust, a term of years is not allowed. The QCD also has to be the only asset given to establish this type of gift. There can't be any combination of other assets, but spouses who each have their own IRA can contribute $54,000 in gifts to fund one life income gift where they share it. Most commentators think that the QCD funded life income gifts are tax-free withdrawals that count towards a donor's required minimum distribution. And as always, we highly recommend consulting with your tax advisor if you're interested in establishing this type of gift. Your gift, whatever role it takes or form it takes, will play a vital role in the life of the School of Optometry for years to come, and the lives of countless people who will benefit from your generosity. Thank you so much for sticking with me through all of this, and thank you for considering these types of gifts. I'm going to pause now for any questions. I know I threw a lot at everyone.
I do have a few questions here. First one here is what is the average gift size for these gifts?
That's a great question, and it's hard to answer. So I'm going to say that any gift of any amount can have an impact. For those who want to establish their own endowed fund or scholarship, the minimum for doing so is $50,000 to $100,000. That said, if you want to give to existing funds, you can do any amount and it's greatly appreciated.
The next question I have is, how do I make sure I get the gift to IUSO in my will?
That's also a great question. We have recommended language, which we're happy to share with you. The key part is that directing the gift to the directing it to the IU Foundation rather than to IU. And that's for most gifts. Ellen will talk about a few gifts like artwork that come directly to IU, but for the most part, having the language saying Indiana University Foundation for the benefit of IU School of Optometry is the best way to get the gift to us.
This next question is probably a great question I hear from people, and I love this question is, IU is already in my estate plans. Why should I go ahead and tell you that ahead of time?
Well, it gives us the opportunity to say thank you. So thank you. And then we love to talk more about that gift. So we want to make sure we fully understand how you want us to use that gift, and we want to be able to effectuate your intent. So telling us now and having that conversation with us now, especially if you're creating a new fund, lets us work out the details and the requirements to that. It's also a lot easier to talk to you on like this side of things than the other side. So talking with us now is great. We also would love to welcome you into our legacy societies. We have the Arbutus Society, which is for all IU donors, and then the Foley House, which is specifically for the School of Optometry. As a member of both, you'll get invited to special events, and it's another way for us to stay connected with you and stay engaged.
Great, that's all I got for right now.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I'm going to turn this over to my colleague, Ellen.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, Eileen, and hi all. I'm Ellen Rodkey. I serve as the Senior Director of Real Estate at the IU Foundation. So I can move on to the next slide. This might be the first time that you're hearing about real estate giving, and that's just because only 20% of nonprofits are equipped to accept gifts of real estate. So when you're looking at your philanthropic goals, you might be a good fit if you own a home and you're making your estate plans. So we'll move on to the next slide, because when we think about gifts of real estate, there are a number of priorities to determine when developing your estate plans. And those key considerations include these on the screen. So time, finance, and then of course, philanthropy. So we'll walk through these considerations and we'll talk about the types of vehicles that we accept and how the process works. But the one point I really love to drive home is that we ask a lot of our alumni and our donors in supporting the optometry school. But giving real estate is one of the vehicles where I think we can really provide some services back to you and support what you're trying to achieve when it comes to both your estate plans and your philanthropy. So moving on, we'll dive in and kick this off with our first consideration, which is time. Now, most of us, I don't think, ever wish for less time. We spend a lot of our lives managing our homes and our property, and that might be time we'd actually rather spend doing something else. Traveling, spending time with family. Add to that if you have perhaps a rental property and you're dealing with tenants, or if you have a commercial building that houses your practice. There's maintenance and upkeep that can be burdensome, and we'd probably rather spend our time involved in the community or just with our own hobbies. So if you're thinking about downsizing, or you're talking with your family about what might happen with your property, there's a lot of time that gets sunk into preparing a house for market and going through the process of selling a home. If you are thinking about making a gift and you have a real estate asset that is taking up a lot of your time and energy and mental effort, then perhaps this is a good option for you. Time is also something to think about for the estate administration process. So the people who are going to be managing this after your lifetime, many of us are going to ask our children to do this, or we have a family friend who's going to manage the disposition of our homes, our cars, household items, books, art, all the things that make up our lives. It can be quite a time-consuming task. Maybe you've had to do this yourself. And so leaving them assets like investments and cash accounts might be easier, and then letting the foundation deal with the property could save your beneficiaries. They don't have to pack and clean and sell and donate all the personal property and get the house ready to sell. So on the next slide, you'll see 6 different methods that we use for accepting real estate. Almost all of these could be a good fit if your first consideration is time and simplifying your estate is the highest priority. You can probably accomplish that through any of these 6. So as we kind of continue to move through these considerations, I'm not going to go into the weeds of each gift type. Feel free to ask questions, or we can also talk about your specific situation afterwards, but I'll just highlight a few as we go. So of the 6 ways that we accept gifts, we'll look at other options, that will, again, be a good fit if the motivation of saving time for either you or your family is of the highest priority. But another priority that might be on your mind is finances. So some of these gifts are incentives for taxes, both income tax savings, which are available when you make a charitable gift, And with gifting real estate, just like some of the options that Eileen shared about, you may also be able to experience some capital gains tax savings. So under finances, I like to mention that there are savings for your estate after your lifetime as a result of IU managing your property. So when you use our services to steward your home and your belongings, it can ensure that we can net higher proceeds back to IU and to what you're trying to support here. So for example, if you have an attorney or a fiduciary who is administering those tasks, that can sort of eat away at that total estate. But if you hand it over to the foundation to administer, then we're recovering a lot more of those expenses and more goes back to the scholarship or the program fund that you're supporting at the optometry school. So let's talk about another, or I guess a real life example here. So Millard and Wendy Lesh are pictured here. They used a type of gift called a retained life estate. Millard and Wendy have a second home in Scottsdale, Arizona, and they are using a retained life estate, which has allowed them to make the gift now. But there's a caveat that they can actually still use their home for as long as they would like. So then when they either pass away or they can voluntarily give up their vacation home early, it comes to the IU Foundation. They were interested in this type of gift for a few reasons. First, this is an irrevocable gift. So they qualified for a charitable tax deduction now, which was an incentive for them. Second, they were looking to simplify their estate. They have 2 daughters, neither live in Arizona. They don't use the condo or particularly have an interest in using it. And so using a retained life estate means that the home will pass directly to the foundation outside of probate, and also means that their daughters won't have to hassle with it. So IU will save time. We'll get it titled over more quickly and then sold, and then the proceeds get to work funding the Lesh's philanthropy. Now for another example, Eileen mentioned charitable remainder unit trusts or gift annuities, which can be beneficial to donors because, as she said, in those types of gifts, you give the gift, but you receive income back. It can be important to have multiple resources for incoming cash during retirement. And so if you're looking for diversity in your income, then this might be a good option. If you don't have the cash to invest in a trust or annuity, you could also fund this with a piece of real estate. Real property can be used to fund a charitable remainder unit trust known as a flip CRUT or a deferred charitable gift annuity. You benefit from that investment, and then the remainder comes to IU after your lifetime. So this here that you see is Christy Hamlin. Christy bought a commercial building when she housed her own business for the length of her career, and she also served as the landlord for other tenants in the building. Then she retired and she was thinking about a couple of things. One, she knew she wanted to do something philanthropic back to IU, so that was key. 2, she didn't want to manage the building and the tenants any longer. 3, she had actually started negotiations with one of the tenants, but it just grew uncomfortable because they were also friends, and didn't want to mix business and friendship. And so she was also then 4, finally facing some financial concerns. So having been self-employed, she knew that a steady income was something that she wanted to secure during her retirement. And as well, if she tried to sell the building herself, she would have been faced with a large capital gains tax because she had depreciated the cost of the building through her business. And so all of these factors resulted in making a gift to IU using that CRUT option. And that achieved everything she was trying to accomplish. So this could be something relevant to alumni in our optometry school in particular, because if you perhaps own the building that houses your eye care practice, then this might be an option. So then let's just look then at our final consideration, which is really probably the most important, and that's your philanthropic goals. Many of us want to get back to IU. We want to do something bigger. And perhaps we have parents or mentors that we want to memorialize or honor with a gift. And so a real estate it could be an underutilized asset that will help you achieve this. So just one other example here, Janet and Jill are pictured here. They are sisters and they created a scholarship in their parents' memory. And they give a little every year to students. So they are actively awarding the scholarship now, but they wanted to set up a way to ensure it would stay funded in perpetuity after their lives. So Janet used, also this is a revocable option of a real estate vehicle called transfer on death deed on her home in Chicago. So this works just like, a POD on a bank account or IRA, similar process to doing a gift through your bequest, through your will, like a bequest too, but it's just slightly different documentation. And so what distinguishes it most from the bequest is that it has another advantage of bypassing probate. Now, it's not available in all states, so we can discuss if this is something that you're interested in. It is available in Indiana. But if you're out of state, we'll take a look. And probate isn't always an issue in every state either, but Illinois in particular, where Jill lives, has a number of complex laws, and so this just keeps it pretty simple for her. So then as we move on here, I'll just kind of wrap it up with this process here on this slide. But we have another special guest with us today, Linda Kasser. Linda is a two-time alum of the School of Optometry and an active member of our Dean's Development Council. And she hardly needs an introduction. She's been a generous and key contributor to the optometric field. But she and I have been working together on documenting her estate gift of real estate to IU. And so she kindly offered to share a little bit about her experience so far. So I will hand it over to you, Linda, and then we'll come back.
Great. Thank you so much, Ellen, for your kind words and for the opportunity to join all of you today and to share some personal perspectives. For a variety of reasons, I've been thinking about how to simplify my affairs and reduce the burden on my executor. As Ellen kindly mentioned, I have the pleasure of serving on the Dean's Development Council for the School of Optometry. And at our February meeting in Bloomington, Larry invited Ellen to address our group and to share information about opportunities for real estate gifts to the IU Foundation. She provided a brochure to us, and she featured several of the individuals on her slides today who are included in the brochure, describing what path they chose and how they chose to support IU. And what impressed me was that Ellen knew the personal stories of the people in the brochure. And what I have found is that Ellen's personal approach and communication has really continued through the process I'll share with you here briefly. So I was on campus again in April. I met with Ellen. I had a number of questions that she was kind enough to answer for me. And then Ellen also kindly visited my home in North Carolina in August. So after consulting with my financial advisor and learning more about the gifting options, I concluded that the best fit for me would be to make an estate gift of my home and personal property to the IU Foundation. I'm in the process of updating my will. In fact, I got a draft back from my attorney yesterday. IU was kind enough to provide some template language, as Eileen mentioned, and I will send the draft of my will to IU for review before I sign it to make sure that we're all on the same page and that the language is consistent with IU's hopes and expectations. My understanding is then once my will is updated to reflect the gift, that there will be a parallel gift agreement, as Eileen mentioned, and Ellen, to designate where the proceeds and the donation will go to support the programs within IU. So even though the process is not totally complete for me personally, I must share with all of you that the process has already brought me great sense of relief, a great sense of peace of mind, that I am in the process of developing a sound plan. As Kyle mentioned, I will have an opportunity to additionally support IU, which has been so important to me, both personally and professionally. And to know that my real estate and personal property, will be taken care of upon my passing in a quality and caring way. So again, thank you for listening and for the opportunity to share just some personal experiences and perspectives.
Well, thanks, Linda. Thank you so much for sharing. And if folks have questions for me or for Linda, we're happy to take them. We went over a lot of details here, but it's actually a simpler process than you think. So, yeah, we're happy to help.
I think right now we just have one question, which is an easy one that I can answer, which is someone know where they should start if they have they want to learn more about this process. And I can just say you can start with me actually. So I'll be sending out some information soon about how to basically the wrap up of what was talked about here, as well as a way to reach me. So that'll be an easy process for you. So I'll be glad to be your starting point. One thing I wanted to kind of cover as well is for another reason of why you might want to consider doing a planned gift, especially from a bequest, is one of the great things about IU and setting up a bequest is if you set up a gift with a bequest and you create a fund for a scholarship, whatever, you actually can start contributing to that right now. So you can actually see that gift in process when you do that there. So it's a great way to be able to see your philanthropy in action while you're still around, to see the students and the programs touched by it. So it's a great way to do that. So, well, I don't have any more questions from anyone else here. And again, I was following up with everybody to provide kind of a synopsis of what was discussed today, some contact information for people to reach out for more information. I can't thank Linda and Kyle and everyone else enough for supporting the School of Optometry with their philanthropy. It's what makes our school so successful is our alumni. So I appreciate that. And again, you have our contact information there. If you have any questions, feel free to reach any one of us, and I'll be glad to direct you to the next step. So thank you all for joining us, and thanks to everybody of our panelists for being part of this, and you all have a great day. Bye.